Today I'm going to teach you guys how to take these ugly orange variable blocks from scratch and replace them with real live retro text effects. Coming right up. Hey, and welcome back to the Chromeworks studio in beautiful Ottawa, Canada. I'm Andrew Tomec, your technology teacher, back with another great technology lesson for you today. We're going to do some more scratch coding today. We're working on part 3 of our Space Invaders game. We've been making good progress on this game. You'll remember this is an ultra-authentic Space Invaders game that uses all the original graphics and sound effects and gameplay from the original game. So I've been really excited about this project, and I've been having a great time teaching it to you. I hope you've been having fun learning it. So if you're catching up to this right now at part 3, you will be able to load all the code that we've done in part 1 and 2 in a file that I call a catch-up file that's in our Space Invaders studio. And you can find the links to everything you're looking for inside the description of this file if you're looking around for that, or you can go to my website at chromeworks.ca/lessons, and you can find all the information about Space Invaders and all my other great game tutorials. I publish a new tutorial every week. And I also host the Chromeworks Club, a weekly live stream where we talk about scratch coding and other cool technology stuff for kids. So catch me there as well. Okay, let's get into our game and have a look at what we did last week. So we've done quite a bit of coding, and we're more or less ready with the finished game, at least with the gameplay elements. Let's have a look at where we are here. So our shields are generating, our ships are moving around, we're shooting, the bad guys are shooting. Pretty well all the major gameplay elements are set up now. We should have an alien appearing soon. Yeah, the aliens are appearing randomly. Our shields are set up, they're being shot away properly. And as you can see, when I let myself get hit by a bullet, no, if that can actually happen here, I die. So everything is pretty much set up except for the interface elements. So as I promised you at the beginning of this, we're not going to be using the default score variables here and any of the other variable displays that we get straight from the Scratch interface, because they work fine, but they don't look very authentic, and we're trying to make this game look as authentic as possible. So what I have done is grab the original font from the Space Invaders game. I've got an object in here inside your catch-up file that is called score text, and it's hard to see because it's against a white background, but let me show a little bit of it here. So you can see this number 0 has appeared here. This is in the actual Space Invaders font, the original font. I've got a file set up here with basically every different letter of the alphabet in here, each one saved as a costume and named after its own letter, and that's a very important aspect of this. So when the script goes looking to fill in a number or a letter in here, it's going to just wear the costume that's named after the letter that it's in. So this is an important element. If you're going to set up your own font for this kind of a rendering system in Scratch, you've got to name everything exactly the way that I have, so that the letters are named after themselves and the numbers are named after themselves. I think I have a few pieces of punctuation here too. A less than sign, a greater than sign, an equal sign, a star, and a question mark. You can put whatever characters you want in this font. And right now there's only uppercase letters, but there are more complicated ways to render this. So looking at my graphic files here, you can see that I've actually set up text for all the major elements of the interface. Each one of them needs its own alphabet and its own set of code here. So even though we're going to be scoring these more or less identically to each other, we're going to have to code each one as a separate sprite. So I've got some text here for the score. I've got more for the high score. I've got another just readout here for how many lives we have left. And another one for the game over text. and for the little score that appears over the UFO to tell you how many points you scored when you killed him. So we're going to be doing these one by one, but mostly we'll be copying them over because the core code doesn't really change that much. It's just needs some minor tweaks so that it appears at the right time and shows up on the right spot on the screen. Okay, so let's start with the score text. All right, so firstly we have to know where the score is going to go. I'm going to hide the original score variable here because we don't need it anymore. And so, as I showed you guys last week, I have a little template set up in my file here that shows me where everything's supposed to be. So through a bit of playing around, I figured out that this spot here where the score is supposed to be is at a certain XY coordinate, and then we're going to have all the letters in the main score offset by that. Notice the score format here in Space Invaders is 0000. It's always a 4-digit number. Now that's going to be important because when we input a score like 10, then the first 2 digits are going to be here, and then these are going to be blank. And then when we get to 100, it's going to add more. We don't want that. We want this to show up as 4 digits all the time. So we're going to have to play around with that score variable and change it to a 4-digit number and then save it into a new variable so that this score knows how to show itself as 4 characters. And that's part of what we're going to get up to right now. Let's start with a green flag. We'll go to our events when green flag clicked. Let me magnify a bit here. All right, so we're going to go to that first location where we know the score is going to be in our motion blocks. Oh, I'm on my background here by accident. Sorry about that. I'm just showing you something. All right, while we're in the backdrop here, let's just go back to our regular default backdrop. I just wanted to show that to you quick. Okay, so we're inside the score text here, and let's again set up a green flag. When green flag clicked, we're going to go to the starting location, the location of the leftmost letter, and through a bit of playing around, I discovered that was -120x and a y of 140. Okay, so we're in the correct spot right now. Now, we're going to be changing the score to a render score, which means a score that's a 4-digit number that's no longer just the 2 digits in the score, but has some zeros added to it. So that's a new variable called a render score. At the beginning here, we don't have to figure out what the render score is because we know it's going to be 0000. So let's just go ahead and set that render score variable to 4 zeros. And it'll know what to put at the beginning. We don't have to do any weird math or anything like that because we know exactly what it's going to look like. Now our other script is going to actually turn that score into a set of clones on the screen, clones of this score font that we set up here. We're doing that using a special script. We're going to create a my block here, and we're going to call it, we're going to go make a block, and we're going to call it render. And then we're going to add a blank here where we can actually enter the text that we want to render. So any number or text we want to render will appear in there. And I'm just going to add a little bit of more text at the end here that says in Space Invaders font. Okay, so now we've got a custom block here. This is where the definition of that custom block is, but we've got this right here that says render, and whatever we want to render, we could type a word in there, but in this case, we're going to put our score in there. So let's grab that variable called render score, which is right here, and we'll pop it in there. So every time the render score changes, we're going to delete the old one and then render a new score in here. So whatever that 4-digit number is going to be displayed. So we have to set up the code now to actually render that score out as we go along here. But the other thing we have to do as well is convert that text to a 4-digit number. Actually, let's do that right now. So before we can render the score, we have to figure out how to turn it into that 4-digit number. Let's create a new custom block here. I'm going to click on make a block, and I'm just going to type in convert score to 4 digits. So before we start working with that number, we have to know what it looks like as a 4-digit number. So let's go ahead and do that. We need to use that here because we already have a 4-digit number, but later on when our aliens and our UFO get killed, that's when we'll have to do this conversion. But let's just get it all set up right here. so that everything's ready to go. So all we're going to do here is do a couple of if statements. We're going to check and see how many digits are in the score. So if we score like 20, for example, or if our total score is 20, we'll know that the last two digits of the score are going to be 20, but it needs a 0, 0 in front of it. So what I'm going to tell it, we'll do an if statement here that says if the length of our score is only 2 digits, then we have to add 2 digits to the beginning of it and then show the score, right? So let's go if length of score is equal to 2, we need an equal sign here. And the score variable we're going to be using in a second here. So let's grab that little bubble. Now we need the length of that variable. Now that's a text handling thing. We're treating our variable like text. So we're going to go to these green variables, or these green blocks here, operator blocks here that are here for handling text strings, right? So this one here, length of apple, it just returns the length of that score. So in the case of apple, it's 5 digits long, so it's giving us an answer of 5. Right now our score is 0, so the answer it's going to give us back is 1, because that's the length of our score, right? It's only 1 digit long. So if length of the score is equal to 2, so if our score is 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever, then we need to set that render score variable. We're going to go set render score to, now we need to take the score and add a 0, 0 to it. So we're going to go join, which takes 2 strings and mashes them together. And we're going to say join 0, 0 with our score. Where did I put that bubble? Okay, I've already used it here, so let's just duplicate it. So join 0, 0 with score. And so if our score is 20, it'll become 0, 0, 2, 0. Okay, we're just going to do a couple of variants on this. So let me duplicate this 2 more times. Right click and duplicate. These are all parallel to each other. So if the length of the score is equal to 3, that means we have a score like 100, 110, 350, or whatever. We know that we still need 1 0 at the beginning, and then we can have the score. So we're just going to join 0 with our score here. There we go. And if the length of the score is 4, meaning we've gotten into the thousands, we're pretty good Space Invaders players apparently, we don't have to join anything. We can just save the score because we're expecting a 4-digit number here. Okay, so this function is going to return back a 4-digit number. We can plug that 4-digit number into the renderer. So let me show you how this is all going to look. So every time that an alien is killed, so let's, for example, say when an alien is killed. So let's go to our when I receive blocks here under our events. We'll say when I receive an alien dead, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to delete the clone, delete this clone. So that's going to get rid of the old version of the text that was on there. So whatever the score was that got rendered the last time an alien got killed, we'll delete that, and then we'll type a new score in there. So simultaneously with that, as at the same time that we're deleting that guy, we're doing some new commands here, also under the same command, when alien dead. So when I get that, we're gonna start drawing right at that beginning spot, again, minus 120 and 140. So let's go ahead and enter that. So have that clone go to minus 120, 140. And so that'll set it up so that we can start typing it. Then we need to convert it to a 4-digit number. And then we're going to display that new render score using our script. Okay, so now let's pop that render score bubble back in there. All right. So everything's set up here so that when our aliens die, we were going to go through these 2 scripts. Now we've already filled out the 1 script, the convert to 4, but now let's go do this convert to or render in Space Invaders font. So we're going to be able to take any amount of text and convert it. Now, the first thing we're going to do is basically figure out how many letters or digits are inside the text we want to render, and then add it to a pre-formatted list let me show you my list. It's here under variables. I have a list here called letters, and you can see that it has some data here from an old time that I played the game here and I was testing stuff out. But this list will basically be blank, and one of the first things we're going to do here is blank it out. So what we're going to do is take our score, which at first will be 0, 0, 0, 0, and fill in each of the digits as one line inside the text here, and then we'll be able to treat each of these lines separately and work with it basically. So let's go ahead. We're going to start counting here. So let's go set a count variable, and this will just count our way through the loop here. So even though we know how many digits we're going to be using here, 4 digits, we're going to set this up so that we can use it with any number of digits, and then we can just copy this code over to any sprite that we want to work on. Okay, so let's just clear out this old list. Let's go delete all of our list called letters. Now notice that the list here is a local variable. We've created it when we went ahead and made the list. We clicked on this for this sprite only. And that way we'll be able to have a list called letters for every single one of these pieces of text that we have. So they're all going to be able to use the same block over and over again without overwriting each other's variables. Okay, delete all of letters. Okay, now let's do a repeat until loop. So we'll go to our control blocks and we'll grab a repeat until. Okay, so we're going to start building this list by going around the number of times that we have digits in the variable here. So let's go repeat until count is equal to the length of our number. Plus we want to go one more because then we'll know that we're done the list when we're on the one that's one bigger than the list. So let's grab an equal sign and we'll pop it into there. Count variables. Count is equal to length of your number or text plus 1. So let's grab a plus 1. Actually, we need a length of, and then we'll do a plus 1. So let's pop all these into each other. So length of, and we're going to grab this number or text right from that block here and pop it in there. So whatever it was that you typed in there, and in this case we didn't type it, it just comes from that score variable. So the length of that render score plus 1. So it's going to be actually go through this 5 times, and on the 5th time it'll know that it's done. It'll exit the loop basically. Okay, so what are we going to do? Let's go add a letter. So we're going to go to our list commands here, and we're going to add something to our list of letters here. And we're going to add letter count of string or of text. Okay, so letter, we're going to take the first letter and then we'll do the second letter, etc. So we're going to go letter, which is actually, that's the green block here, sorry. So when we're looking at words inside our list, we always use these green operator blocks. And when we look at the list, the entire list and items on the list, we use the kind of browny, orangey colored list block. So we're kind of going to go back and forth between these. Okay, so we're going to say letter 1, 2, or 3. So letter count. We're going to use that, whatever that number is on the count, we're going to do the first letter, then the second letter, then the third letter of that list of that number or text. So here we go. So once we put this all in here, it's basically going to say add the first letter of that score to your letters list. So in this case, it's a 0. It'll put a 0 on the list there. Okay. Then we change the count by 1. So the second time around, it'll do letter 2, etc. And then it'll change the count by 1. Then when it gets up to 5, it'll go around here and see that it's at 5, and it'll skip on and keep moving here. So you're always going to get the number that's in there. Let's click the green flag here and see if that does anything. Yeah, so it's re-rendered our list here. as 4 zeros because that's our initial score. And so it did exactly what it was supposed to do here. It cleared out the list and added 4 zeros. Okay, and if I was to change the score to something else here, for example, let me just give you a demo here. So under the green flag here, I can change this to 1, 2, 3, 4, for example. And you'd see that our script changes to 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Okay, so that is working exactly the way we expect it to. Now, once we're out of this loop, we can start telling our script here to start putting down these letters in the right spot. So let's go to our switch costume. We want our guy wearing the right costume before we clone him in that spot. So let's switch costume to, now we're going to do item 1 of our letters. So we always start with the first number, and then we're going to go through a loop and change it for the subsequent letters. So let's go item 1 of letters. That's in our list here. Item 1 of our letters list we're going to display. We also want to set the size here. So this was just a lot of playing around, but I discovered that the size of 150% for this font is just about right to make it look like the number on my template here. So set size to 150%. We're going to hide it here. So yeah, the reference one is just going to show up. Actually, so this reference one is going to be invisible all the time. It's the clone that's going to be visible. So we're just going to hide it right away here. And we're again going to go through this count process where we do this for the number of times of the letters here. So let's go and reset our count back to 1 again. We'll go to our variables. We'll set count to 1. And then we're going to repeat the number of times that there's digits in this list. So repeat it 4 times basically. So let's go repeat. That's under our control blocks. How many times? Well, the same number of times as the number of digits in our list. So we're going to go length of letters list. But we have to, in this case, subtract 1 because we've actually already put down the first letter. Let's work through this. It'll make a little bit more sense as we go through it here. So let's go -1. And we'll just work through a few different scenarios of what this is going to look like as we start to add letters. So it'll go through doing the first letter. The count will be 1. We're going to repeat through here 3 times, basically. We've already switched our costume once here to get to here. Okay, so what we're going to do is to create a clone of ourselves. So that's going to put down that letter in that spot. Then we're going to move over. I estimated that these guys are 10 steps or 10 pixels apart, which will look pretty good. Then we're going to up that count again. We're going to go change count by 1. And then we're going to switch the costume. So we'll go to our looks commands. And we're going to go switch costume to item. An item from our list. So we're going to go back to our list commands here. We'll go item, not item 1 of our list, but the item that matches where our count is right now. So I know this is a lot. Let's actually go through it just using some of the actual numbers we'll be using in here. So the first time we go through this list, we're gonna look at item 1 of letters. Let's show that letters list again here. So our letters are at 1, 2, 3, 4, for example here, right? So item 1 of letters is 1. We're going to switch to the costume that says number 1. Our count is going to be at 1. We're going to repeat this 3 times. So the first time we're going to create a 1 in that spot. Then we're going to move 10 pixels to the right. Our count's going to change to 2. Then we're going to switch costume to the second item on the list, which is 2. Then we're going to come around this list again. We're going to create a clone of ourselves of 2. Then we'll change the count again, switch the costume to 3, and then the 4th time it'll go through 3 times, and then it'll switch costumes and move again, and at the end of this we'll have put all 4 letters down here. Okay. Oh, sorry, that'll go 3 times, and the last time when we exit this list, there was probably a better way to do this. So when we exit, so that'll go around 3 times for the first 3 digits, and it'll move over 10, and then clone down that last guy, and then we are good to go here. Now, we need to do a when I started the clone here to actually have these guys appear, to tell them to appear. So when I started the clone, where is that gone to? Yeah. So when I started the clone, we're just going to show. And let's have a look at that and see what it looks like. I've got to hide my list. And let's have a look here. 0, 0, 0 is our score. There we go, 10 points, 20 points. And you can see we're showing these numbers in that 4-digit format exactly like we wanted. Beautiful. Okay, so now that we have a proper rendering engine all set up, we've got our clones appearing in the proper places, we can take this code and repurpose it in all the other places inside our game here where we need to have text. The first thing I'm going to do here is there's a couple of spots where the text appears all the time in the game. It's static text that doesn't change. Let me show you the backdrop here. We've got the score for player 1 and then the high score. This is only going to be a 1-player game, so we're not going to do the score 2. But we'll do the score and the high score here, and we're not going to bother with the credits either. So we need to basically set up these 2 blocks of text that aren't going to change during the game. So it's a little bit more straightforward here. All right, so let's go back to our score text, and we're just going to drag this custom block over to our static text. And the static text is just a blank font, a blank file that just has the costumes for all the text in it. So you could even make a copy if you were coding this differently. You could just, and you didn't have the template in front of you, you could just duplicate this and then delete the parts you don't need. All we're really interested in here is using this define render text again. And so now that we've got this in here, we just need to feed some information, some different information in it here. So we also need the when I started the clone show. I might as well just grab that as well, though it's not really much to have to code. So let's move that over to the static text. Okay, so this is all the code we need, and now we just need to tell the code where to go on the screen and tell it to render using this new custom render block here. So let's go ahead and say when I click the green flag, go to an XY coordinate. Wow, something's really messed up in my Scratch here. I'm not getting some of my graphics that I should be getting here. The picture of the green flag is just coming up nada here, but that shouldn't affect anything. All right, so we're going to go to a coordinate of -125. So just put a minus, there's already a 125 there. And a height of 158. Good. So in that spot, we're going to render that text. So let's go to our custom blocks here. We'll go render, and let's type in what we want. It's just score in all caps. Then we're gonna, let's just duplicate this because we're just gonna add a different number here. So it's at the same height, but at a different X coordinate, which is 55. And here's where we're gonna type, yeah, I'm having some problems, but it shouldn't affect us here. I'll just type high score, which just looks just like it does in the original Space Invaders game. Okay, let's hide that backdrop, and we'll get the plain blank backdrop here so that we can actually test our code out and see if our new custom block works in this new spot. Score, high score, beautiful. Okay, good. Okay, so now that our rendered text is good, we still need to fill in the number for this high score down here, we're going to borrow these elements one more time. So let's go back to our score text here, and we'll grab the render code and drag it over to the high score. And we're also going to take this little bit of code that says show. There's no use reinventing the wheel here. All right, we're going to do something similar here with converting scores over, but I'm going to do it differently because the names of the variables are different. So it's going to be kind of like what we're doing here. We're going to have to convert it to a 4-digit number, but we'll do something a little bit different from that. So let's go back to let's go over to our high score text. Let's just clean up these blocks a little bit. Okay, so here's our starting stuff that we've recycled. Now let's add a few new elements. Let's start with a green flag here. So we'll say under events, we'll go when I get a green flag. When I get a green flag, we're going to go to our starting location for that block, which is 8140. Now, we are going to be rendering that text, but again, we're going to convert our text over. So let's go create a new custom block here. It's going to be very similar to the other custom block. We're going to call it convert high score to 4 digits. And we're going to be calling this twice, once at the beginning of the game and then once again at the end of the game when we have to reset our high score. So let's drop that block right there under the green flag, convert to high score, and then we're going to render our score out. Now the score that we're going to render, again, is a render score. It's not the 2-digit or 3-digit number that's going to be our score. It's going to be the converted number. So let's just go render high score in Space Invaders font. So that's going to happen there. We're going to do that a second time, though, when I receive game over. So let's just make a duplicate of this stuff. And we'll put a new top on this that says when I receive game over, so that it again updates the score after our game over. Okay, so all we have to do now is convert that number over to a 4-digit number. So let's do some quick code for that. We're starting off with an if statement with an equal sign inside it. So let's go ahead and here, let's go to our control blocks. We'll say if equal to. So we'll say if our high score is equal to 0, because at the beginning we know that's the only time our high score is going to be 1 digit, because as soon as we score even our first point, it's going to be a 2-digit number. So we just need one special case for at the beginning when our high score is 0. So let's grab a high score bubble here. If our high score is equal to 0, we're going to set that render score. What is the render score going to be? Render score, or render high score, sorry. There's a render high score. We're going to set it to 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, let's duplicate this. And we'll say if. Now, we're not going to go the high score anymore. We're going to go length of the high score, because we want to know if there's 2 digits in it this time. So length of, if the length of the high score is equal to 2, then our score is going to be, we're going to set the render high score to join again. We're going to join 0, 0 with the 2-digit render high score. Oh no, we're going to set the render high score to the high score here. So let me just duplicate that. So it'll be 0020 or whatever it is that the render high score was. Let's just duplicate this. If there's 3 digits, it will be 0 plus the high score. And for the fourth one, it'll just be, there will be no join. It'll just be set it to high score. If our length is 4 and we're a 4-digit number, then we'll set it to the high score. Okay, so we've converted our numbers properly and everything should be rendering nicely. That wasn't too much code. Let's go have a look at that. And there's our, whoa, it didn't reset to 0. So I think the first time we play this, now yours is going to be 0. It's just because I was messing around with these numbers. Let's just artificially set this number back to high score, number back to 0 again. You won't need this in your code, I promise, because we actually don't want to set it to 0. Well, it's going to be 0 automatically when you reload your game, and then it's going to be changing to other stuff as we go along, and we want it to stay that way for the entirety of the session. Okay, so here's our score of 10. And I can't test this yet because we actually don't have a game over event here. I'm going to die, but we're not losing lives, and our game isn't over. So we're going to have to test this later, I'm afraid. Okay, what else is there to do? So let's go over to our lives text, and we'll manage that next. All right, so let's render some more text here. We're going to do the text at the bottom of the screen, as I think I showed you earlier. Let's show you our template again. We're showing the number of lives that you have left right down here at the bottom left of the screen. That's fairly straightforward, except we're going to also need to have these icons here showing the number of men that you have available in the game as well. So that'll be a two-part process. Let's start off. We've got a text block here called lives text, and we already have our font loaded up in there. So let's grab our text rendering engine one more time. We can grab it from anywhere here. They're all the same. We'll just drop it in there. And I think I'll also drop that when I started the clone show, because I will be needing that there as well. Okay, let's clean that up. Now, what else do we have to put in here? Just a couple of blocks. Let's tell it when I click the green flag, we're just basically going to render this out at 2 times, once at the beginning and then once every time that I die as well. So let's go when I click the green flag. Let's go to our starting position. It probably already knows its starting position. It's -130, -165. And then we're going to render our lives there. So let's go grab a bubble for lives, and we'll use our render block that we dragged over. Render lives in Space Invaders font. Let's just duplicate this, and we'll put a new header on it. And we'll have it change every time we die. So every time we receive a player dead. Now I was looking at my code here. Here was our player dead. We don't even have a player dead here. So I think I neglected to code the player dead event in here. So we're going to have to go back to our player and add that. Let's go ahead and create a new event here called player dead. There we go. And let's go back to our spaceship character here. This is the spot where we die if we're touching a bomb or an alien. You can see our lives go down by 1. But we forgot to broadcast a message here. That message is going to be important because it's going to change a few things across the game. So let's go player dead here. Okay, so we can go back to our lives text here. And we can test this out. So let's just try playing the game. There's our 3 lives. And I'm just going to try and kill myself as fast as possible here. Oh, I missed my bullet. Oh, here we go. 2 lives. Beautiful. 1 live. 0 lives. Now we still don't have a game over event, though you can see that our character has stopped moving because we told it to keep going until our lives were equal to 0. So this is all good. This is very good. Okay, so now let's get those icons into place. We're going to go to our lives icon. It's just I just made a copy of the spaceship file for this, and we're just going to clone it into some new positions here. So when the green flag is clicked, we're going to show, and we're going to make some clones of it, then we'll hide again. So let's go to our start position, motion, go to, yeah, this is the right location, -109, -161. And we're going to repeat, the number of times that we have lives -1. Because we always want to have, as I showed you earlier, strangely enough, one of our character up here counts as one of these icons as well. So it's always going to, the number here is going to reflect the number of guys at the bottom plus this one guy here. So the number of times we clone this has to be 1 less than our number of lives. So let's grab a minus sign. Repeat lives -1. And inside there, we're going to create a clone of ourselves. Let's go to our control, create a clone of myself. And then we're going to move over So these guys are not going to be 10 apart, they're going to be 20 apart. So we're going to move over by 20 and then create another clone, and we're going to do that for the number of lives we have. So we could just have had 2 of those guys go down, but I want you guys to have the flexibility to add extra lives if you want. So if I change my initial lives to more, then you'll see they'll be reflected. Let me just show you how that works. Oh, actually, we're not quite ready to go here. We just have to do the same thing and repeat it when our player is dead. So let's just go ahead and duplicate that. So we actually could have tested. Oh, I did the wrong thing here. So let's duplicate that. We'll get rid of the header here. We'll go when I receive player dead. We're going to do the same thing. Just change that number of lives. We're going to reset that number of lives. I don't know if we have to delete our clones. I guess not. Let's have a look and see what happens here when we die. Okay, green flag, there we go. We got 3 guys, including our guy, and hopefully one of them will disappear when we die. There we go, 2 of them, 1 of them, and that's just our guy up top here. Okay, this is a little bit wacky, but it is the way that Space Invaders is supposed to work. We're supposed to have our 3 lives represented this way. Okay, so that was pretty easy. What else do we have to do? Well, we also have some game over text that's going to appear at the end of the game. So let's have that appear. Let's go have a look at that. We're going to need a render engine in there again. So let's just copy the render engine over one more time, over to the game over. And again, this is just a sprite with blank, with my text sprites in it. We're just reusing the same thing over and over again. A real example of recycling here. So all we have to do here is when I started the clone, we're going to show, actually I should have done that again. Let's just do this here. When I started the clone, then show. Okay. Then a couple of things have to happen here. The main one is, okay, when I receive game over. So this is what's going to happen when our game ends, right? We already have our character freezing, so we just need some game over text to appear on the screen. So we'll go to our events. We'll go when I receive game over. We'll wait 1 second for the smoke to clear, for our explosion to finish running. Then we'll go to basically the middle of the screen. We're going to -50. Our text is about 100 pixels wide, so we offset it by 50 so that it'll be centered. Vertically, it's centered at Y. Let's go to the front in case anything else gets stuck in front of it. We'll go to our looks menu here and go to front layer. And then let's just render something in the text engine. And what are we going to render? Well, it doesn't have to be a variable this time. We can actually type it game over. I'm doing it all in caps. I think that should be it. So let's give it a try. I'm going to have to blow away all my lives here. 1 life, 2 lives. Okay, come on, 1 more unlucky bullet. Here we go, 3. There we go, game over appears there. Now it's kind of hard to see because we've got all this other stuff happening here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to have a dim black screen show in front of here. We basically want the game over to, we want the rest of the screen to get a little bit dark. Now we could go into the graphics elements of all these things and turn them dim, but that's a lot of work. The easier thing to do is just to lay a black screen down on top of this and make it a little bit transparent. And that'll make our game over look a little bit better. Right now it is not looking very sharp because it's hard to see against all the stuff that's happening on the screen. Just a second, I'm going to hide my lives here. I don't need to be looking at them anymore. All right, so I have a character, a block here called dim screen. All it is a black vector that I drew here, or it's actually a bitmap. So I just basically went to bitmap mode and filled it with black. So I've got a total black screen here. And let's do just a little bit of coding. We'll get that appearing properly. So when the green flag is clicked, we don't want to be seeing this. So let's go to our events. When green flag clicked, go. Let's just send it to the middle in case we actually slip it out of the way, and then we'll hide it. We'll go looks, hide. All right, that'll be out of our way until we receive a game over event. So when I receive a game over, what are we going to do here? Let's go to the front layer. Let's show. And we're just going to make it a little transparent. So we're going to set a graphic effect. We're going to set our ghost effect to 50%. So that'll be a black window that's kind of semi-fuzzy. Let's go ahead and kill ourselves again and see if that looks better. Okay, guys, you can shoot me anytime. There we go. 1, 2 lives. Kind of hard to die here sometimes. 1 life. 0 lives. And then you see our screen goes dim, and there's our game over. We could go even darker than that if we wanted to. We could go like 30% or something like that. This is looking pretty good. I actually might want to try a slightly darker shade though, eh? Let's change that ghost effect to 30%. We'll make it even darker. Let's give that another try. There's 1 death, 2 death, 3 death. Yeah, I like that better. And there's a game over appearing across the top of the screen. And I'm just leaving the game running in the background here because I think that's kind of cool. Though everything kind of messes up here when we're dead. No, it's just going to keep going. Okay, so this is kind of similar to what's going on in the arcade game. You can still see stuff happening in the background. We should theoretically hide our player though when we've lost our last life rather than having it reappear again. Let's go back to our spaceship and tell it when it receives a game over. When I receive a game over, let's hide him. Now, I don't think I showed him earlier because he was always visible. So let's show him under the green flag so that he doesn't stay invisible next time we play the game. Okay, I'm not going to bother going through the game one more time to show that to you because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. All right, so I'm trying to think of what else we have to do here. So I think we've got all the text elements set up the way that we want them. Oh, there's one more text element, and that's going to be the number. You guys will remember that our UFOs score 3 different variable scores. That could be 50, 100, or 150 to kill these guys. So we want to know what we actually did score when we kill it. So we're going to have a little number appear in the spot where we killed the UFO that will tell us which of those 3 scores we got. All right, so again, we're going to need our text engine. Let's just go over to anywhere where we have it here. We'll just drop it into our UFO score. And let's grab that when I start the clone show. We'll drop that in there too. Clean up blocks. Okay, and again, it's just a little bit of code we have to do here. So let's go over to the UFO score and have a look at what we have to do there. All right, so when I start as a clone is a good place to start. We've got the show. And actually that we just want that to be temporary. So we're just going to have it show. And then we're going to wait 1 second, and then we're going to have it hide again. So that score is just going to appear for the 1 second. And at the end, well, actually, we don't even have to hide. Let's just delete the clone here, and that'll get rid of it. All right. Now, we're going to have to tell it where to appear. So when I receive, let's go to our events here. When I receive UFO killed. So this is going to appear on the spot where the UFO was, right? So we're going to have to go to the UFO's X position. I believe we already saved that in our UFO. When our UFO gets killed, so we're setting UFO X to our X position. So we're remembering that spot where our UFO got killed. So in here, we're going to tell it to go to that spot where our UFO just got killed. Remember, the Y coordinate doesn't change because the UFO only moves horizontal. So let's just put that UFO X variable in there. That'll pop into the right spot. Let's just make sure it's at the front. We'll do a go to front. And then we'll use our render engine to render that text out. So render UFO score. So that's the variable that we set for which of those 3 scores did we get. in Space Invaders font. Okay, so that is looking good. Let's give that another try here. We'll go green flag. And let's wait for a UFO to appear, and hopefully the UFO, the score will appear over his head after we kill him. We're gonna have to snipe a UFO first. Here he comes. Here's our chance. I know I'm gonna hit this alien, so let's get rid of him so he doesn't get in our way. Okay, here he comes. Got him. 150. Beautiful. I got the max score on that guy. Okay, let me kill myself here while I'm at it, just so that we can see that our guy is gonna disappear after our last game over event. Oh, come on, one more death here. Here we go. 0 lives. We disappear. Our guy is missing. Our game over is there. Okay, we are looking really, really good here. I just had one other little graphical flourish I wanted to add to this game, and that is I grabbed this screen from the original game as well, and it's at the back right now. We're going to have to hide this dim screen here. There it is. So this is the original screen that appears at the beginning of the game that shows you all the different points that you get for the different guys. Just gives it a little bit more of an authentic arcadey look. Let's just do a little bit of coding to get that onto the screen. My the version of my game that you'll see in the final also has a little Space Invaders splash screen at the beginning. I'm not going to give that to you because it has a Chromeworks logo on it. It's kind of my thing. You're going to have to come up with your own splash screen for this game if you want to do it. So let's go to score chart and just do a little bit of coding for that. So we'll go when green flag clicked. We're going to show you a little bigger. We're going to do a ghost thing to have it disappear when we click on it, or we're just going to have it disappear. So set ghost effect to 0. So it's going to be fully visible at the beginning. Let's have it go right to the center of the screen. Go to 0, 0. We're going to have it go to the front. Always good to have stuff at the front when it's when you've got multiple layers. You just, whenever it becomes active, you bring it to the front. But in this case, we have to go backward 1 layer. Oh, I put this behind my splash screen. We don't have to do that for you though. Okay, so let's go wait 2 seconds. We're just going to have it disappear after 2 seconds. So wait 2 seconds, and then we're going to have it fade out. Repeat 20 times. And each time we're going to have it fade by 5%. So we'll go change ghost effect by 5. So that'll make it slowly fade out. And at the end of it, we can hide it as well. Now, if we get impatient and we click on it when the game starts, then we can also have it disappear as well. So I'm going to grab an event that's called when the sprite clicked. And we're going to have the fade out happen there as well. So let's just go repeat 20 times. And so we'll just have that happen right away. So that when I start the game, we can see this. If I click on it, it'll disappear. But if we wait 2 seconds, it will also disappear. And there's my game ready to go. And I can start playing. So that just adds a little bit more authenticity to the game. All right. I think there's a few little bugs in this. It's going to take a bit of play testing to figure it out. If you guys find some bugs in the game, then you can let me know. Just drop me an email at info@chromeworks.ca. If I find any bugs in this, I will issue a little update. I'll probably just do a little supplemental video to explain that. But otherwise, I think we're looking good here. So that was a really fun little session. I hope you guys today learned a little bit about how to add text to your games. You can use this text engine for all kinds of different stuff. You can put different fonts into it. You really just have to design your own font and design each letter for it and just rename those fonts with rename each picture with the name of the letter that it is. And you can go and do the same approach for almost any kind of game that you want to run this in. Now, I'm going to be doing some more arcade games in the future. I'm going to be revisiting some of the popular games that you guys like a lot that I don't think I did a great job with the first time around. So I'm, because I was just learning about Scratch. So just like we took this Space Invaders game and really turned it up a notch, we're going to be doing that in the future with some other arcade classics like Pac-Man, I think is going to be one of our next ones. But I'm really excited because right now Jeffrey and I are working on the next stages of our next game, which is going to be a fun Scratch version of Among Us, the hit game Among Us. So stay tuned for that, guys. I'm really excited to show that to you starting next week. Thanks for joining me, and as always, well, I'll be back Saturday for my live stream, the Chromeworks Club, and we'll be releasing a new video every Saturday as well with a new game tutorial. So thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you next time.